Look, doing hard things is hard. Imagine you're this guy. You have a trip to Spain coming up in a few weeks and you've done little to no planning for it. But the last thing you want to do is plan it because it's still weeks away and you know it's going to take a lot of time and effort. Instead, it's easier to forget the hard thing, which is planning, and instead do the easy thing, which is watching more footage of Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero. Watching more gameplay footage isn't hard. When you're watching it, it feels quite liberating for the first couple minutes, but eventually a thought enters your head that you should be planning your trip. You brush it off and tell yourself, it's okay. I'm only watching a couple minutes of footage and the trip is still a long way to go. But the next time that thought comes back more frequently, and all of a sudden the easy numbing activity has turned into a negative cycle of suffocation, of constantly feeling bad that you aren't getting the hard thing done. But let's flip the scenario. Imagine now you're this guy. You have a trip to Spain coming up, and instead of delaying the planning, you pencil in time in your calendar today and you spend 30 minutes to an hour figuring out sights to see, foods to eat, and activities to do. You've spent your time and energy on this task, and by the end of it, you feel really good about yourself because you took one step towards building out the itinerary for your trip. You can now engage with the easy task of watching Sparking Zero, and instead of anxiety and dread filling you up, you feel calm and relieved because you did the hard thing. You see, by avoiding the hard thing, you're only delaying the inevitable pain that will come when you do the activity. Okay, this story sounds good in theory, but how do you actually put it into practice? Well, to do that, it actually requires you to do step one, which is to understand the opportunity cost of not doing the said thing. If it's the gym, when you skip a day at the gym, you could potentially miss out on hitting a PR of how many pull-ups you can do, or you're missing out on living up to the identity of someone that never skips a day at the gym. Now, going back to the Spain example, by delaying the planning of the trip, you are creating a more chaotic and stressful trip for yourself. I found that the easiest way to start attacking hard problems in my life is to understand the opportunity cost of not doing those things. So when I was in college and it was exam week, or I knew a project was upcoming, I would purposely budget out time in order to prepare for those events. During my freshman year of college, I actually started to study for my finals a week before finals week began. And by taking that time out to study for those finals, I was able to give myself ample amount of time to prepare. So by the time finals week rolled around, I wasn't in a position where I needed to pull all-nighters to study for these exams. But if I decided not to prepare ahead of time and decided to delay the inevitable pain that would have came with studying, I would have put myself in a position where I needed to pull those all-nighters, and that would have inadvertently affected my mood and performance when it came to exams. So when you're tasked with a hard task, think of the opportunity cost of not doing that activity and ask yourself, why can't I just do it now? It's gonna suck in some way, but like a band-aid, it's actually better to just rip it off completely right away. Step two, admit that the thing you're about to do will be hard. It's okay to be nervous and not know where to start. Oftentimes, we like to glorify the person that walks into the arena of the unknown and is ready and confident to take on the task ahead. But in reality, that person is probably crapping their pants right now. In a podcast, Steve Magnus, author of Do Hard Things, said there was a military test where certain participants acted really confident before a big physical test, while there were others that let it be known that they were nervous for it. Now, when you hear that, which group do you think performed better? What's surprising is that the group that admitted that they were nervous about the task ahead actually performed better than the group that was overconfident. The reason the other group performed better is because they admitted that they were nervous and acknowledged the challenging task ahead.
We lost! We fucking super lost, man! Tell him, McCluskey.
When I was learning Photoshop and Premiere Pro for the first time in college, it was really rough in the beginning. It would have been really easy for me to quit using the programs because I felt overwhelmed. But I remembered in those moments when I decided to embrace the suck and embrace the fact that this would be a very challenging task. It made those practice sessions slightly more enjoyable and more fun. Now, this whole idea I like to think about is something similar to what Kobe Bryant said during his Jersey retirement speech. He said, and I'm paraphrasing here, that the dream is not the end goal, but actually doing the daily work every single day. So for him, that meant getting up at 5 a.m. to go do workouts, doing 3-a-day workouts, and spending hours in the gym practicing his jump shot. And now he admitted that this wasn't something he looked forward to doing every single day, but by embracing the suck, he was able to push through and continue working on his craft. So it's okay to admit to yourself that before you do something hard, that, hey, this is probably going to suck, but I'm still going to do it anyway. And that's fine because you're building up to the life that you want to live. And not only that, the more often you do hard things, the more better and the more amazing you're going to feel about yourself. Think about the last time you did something that was hard. It could be as simple as going to the gym or starting to work on your side hustle. I guarantee you that once you completed those tasks, you actually felt a bit better about yourself. Step 3, do the hard thing when you're in a good mood. Now, when it comes to your mood, it's actually easier to start doing hard things when you're feeling better about yourself. It's hard to force yourself to do something challenging when you've been rotting away in your bed swiping on dating apps all day. Actually, that's something that you should probably avoid because nothing will make you feel like a bigger piece of shit than doing that. Have you noticed that when you wake up, you're teeming with energy and you have a ton of drive to work on the hard problems in your day? Compare your energy levels to when you come back from work, where you're probably much more likely to be fatigued and tired. So the last thing you want to do when you come back from work is want to work on that side hustle or want to challenge yourself and do that hard thing. So knowing that's the case, can you manipulate your day to allow yourself to work on hard things when you're in a good mood? So this means that you could start waking up earlier, for example, to start working on that side hustle. Or you could do what I do, is that when you return from work, you start pairing a fun activity next to a really hard activity. For example, a fun activity for me now is actually going to the gym. So when I get home from work, I quickly slip on my workout clothes, go to the gym, finish my workout, eat, and then start scripting YouTube videos for the next 30 minutes. Now, every time I return from the gym, it gives me this really feel-good chemicals in my brain and makes me feel great about myself. And that extra jolt of energy is actually enough for me to start working on the hard things, which is YouTube scripting. Doing hard things and feeling good about yourself actually work in a positive cycle. So the more times you do hard things, the better you feel about yourself. And the better you feel about yourself, the more you continue to do hard things. And the opposite is true too. When you avoid doing hard things, the worse you feel about yourself. And the more you continue feeling worse about yourself, the less likely you are to do hard things. Step 4, positive self-talk.
I feel incredible! Yes, 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 yes! I can win! I feel great! I can do this!
So if you've ever watched a tennis match, you've probably noticed that tennis players grunt really loudly, and I mean they grunt really loud. But within those grunts, you'll probably hear them talk about their performances. So if they ever secure a big point, you will hear them scream yes or vamos. Now, a lot of this is actually just pure emotions being released by the players, but this is not for nothing, since positive self-talk can really trick your subconscious mind into believing that you are capable of accomplishing and finishing off a hard task. So take, for example, learning Photoshop. Learning Photoshop is very difficult, but if you have a positive mantra that you can remind yourself, it can actually give you the boost you need to make you believe that you can finish off the task. But the inverse of positive self-talk is negative self-talk. I see this all the time happen in golf. If you've ever watched a golfer when they're struggling, you probably notice that they curse really loudly and they swing really hard.
Right, Tiger Woods.
God, Tiger!
And what you'll notice is that negative self-talk will then spiral into them actually playing worse throughout the round. Running is the best example of this. If you've ever been in a long run before, you know that it is a very difficult and strenuous task. And you know that during those long runs, your mind will play tricks on you in believing that you are not capable of doing that hard task, which is completing the run. But I noticed that during those runs, when I just repeat to myself that I can do it and then I can continue going, I give myself the energy and the belief that I can finish off the run and that I can do it. Step 5, set your environment up for success. I mean, I feel like I don't even want to labor on this point because I talk about it so much on this channel, but knowing that all that we know about doing hard things, is your current environment set up so that you can easily do those hard things? You can still get things done in chaos, but it requires so much more effort on your end. So why not just set up the space so that you can easily get into your work? If your goal is to write more scripts for YouTube, don't have your PlayStation controller right on your desk, which would signal to your brain to continue playing PlayStation. Put that thing away in the drawer so that you can focus on the task, which is just scripting YouTube videos. And if it's going to the gym, have your gym clothes set up the night before so that way when you come home from work, you can just immediately put them on and start working out. I found that I've been the most happiest in my life when I continue to challenge my mind to do hard things. Whether it's putting myself out there in social situations, reading more books, working on YouTube, or working on my own passion projects. All those activities require time and effort on my end, and they don't sound immediately as appealing as eating junk food and watching TV, But I find that the more often I do those hard things, when I do decide to indulge on TV or just hanging out with friends and being a member of society, I actually find those times to be a lot more enjoyable because I went ahead and did the hard work on the back end. So long story short, learn to love to do hard things. I really need to stop.